Today's story is about a man who was wrongfully arrested, prosecuted, and convicted, and who spent 15 years unjustly imprisoned, only to be exonerated after new evidence emerged through advanced DNA analysis. The case of Govinda Mainali not only highlights a miscarriage of justice, but also the shocking death of the victim, Watanabe Yasuko, which sent shockwaves across the nation. On March 19, 1997, the body of a woman was found on the first floor of an apartment in Shibuya, Tokyo. The police investigation revealed that the deceased woman was Watanabe Yasuko, an employee of Tokyo Electric Power Company. However, a strange detail was that Yasuko did not live in that apartment. The police began investigating why she died in a place that was not her home. Watanabe Yasuko was born on June 7, 1957, as the eldest daughter of Tatsuo Watanabe, a senior engineer at Tokyo Electric Power Company. Tatsuo was recognized for his potential as the deputy director of the engineering department, but passed away from cancer while Yasuko was attending university. Yasuko majored in economics at the prestigious Keio University in Tokyo. Following in her father's footsteps, she joined Tokyo Electric Power Company and was assigned to the research division of the planning department. Yasuko was an exemplary employee, and as a graduate of a prestigious school with a respected father at Tokyo Electric Power Company, she was promoted to head of the Economic Research Office in 1993. She continued her father's research and authored a report on the risks of nuclear power plants, which was well received. This led to her rapid promotion, and she became the only woman to hold an exceptionally high position at the company. In 1993, Yasuko's annual salary exceeded $100,000, but along with this high salary came a lot of stress. Yasuko had few friends within the company and rarely drank with her superiors or colleagues. She also had a history of being hospitalized for anorexia at the age of 28, possibly due to stress and the immense pressure she faced. A convenience store employee in Shibuya mentioned that she frequently purchased oden and low-calorie tofu soup. Yasuko had a secret that no one knew. Although she was a successful senior executive at Tokyo Electric Power Company, she lived a different life at night. She was involved in sex work in Shibuya, and neither her family, friends, nor colleagues knew about it. She owned a small apartment where she would take men she met on the streets. Yasuko didn't need the money. So why did she lead such a secretive life? In 1997, while working in the night streets of Shibuya, she met Govinda Mainali, a man who had come to Japan from Nepal to work. Yasuko brought Govinda back to the apartment she owned. Govinda left Nepal in 1994, leaving behind his wife Radha and their two daughters, Mithila and Alicia, to start working at a Nepalese restaurant in Tokyo. He entered Japan on a short-term visa, but after it expired, he decided to remain in Japan illegally and continue working. While the average monthly income in Nepal was about $50, in Japan, he could earn more than that in a single day. He managed to save money by eating at work and bringing home leftover food on his days off, living on about $137 a month after paying for rent and utilities. Govinda lived in an apartment with 4 other men from Nepal, working daily at a restaurant while being separated from his family. He was regarded as a diligent employee. At the restaurant where he worked, Govinda was popular with customers and, as a handsome young man, he even received marriage proposals from Japanese women. Govinda came to know Yasuko while passing through Shibuya. He noticed her going in and out of her apartment with different men every night and realized that Yasuko was involved in sex work. It's unclear whether she approached him first or if Govinda made the first move, but the two had sexual relations several times in her apartment in 1997. In early March 1997, Govinda visited her apartment for sexual relations, and she recorded this in her diary. However, this would be her last entry. On March 19, 1997, Yasuko was found strangled to death in her apartment, and the police identified Govinda as a suspect. According to the police investigation, Yasuko was seen meeting a man around 7 p.m. on March 8, 1997, and the two entered a hotel together. After 10 p.m., they left the hotel, and she was seen wandering around, talking to several people. Around 10:30 p.m., she was seen walking with a man in his 30s. The last sighting of her was around 11:30 p.m., when a witness testified that she was seen going up the stairs of her apartment building with a man of Southeast Asian descent. A neighbor reported hearing noise from her apartment until midnight, after which it went silent. Yasuko's time of death is estimated to have occurred between midnight on March 8th and the early hours of March 9th. However, her strangled body wasn't discovered until 10 days later. Her body was found in a vacant room on the first floor when the restaurant manager and apartment owner reported it to the police. When the police arrived at the apartment where Govinda lived to apprehend him, many Nepalese men who were overstaying their visas in Japan misunderstood it as an immigration raid and fled. The apartment housed many migrant workers, and Govinda was among those who left at that time. He thought the police were there to arrest workers with expired visas. However, upon learning that the police were looking for him in connection with the murder case, Govinda voluntarily turned himself in. At first, claimed that he did not know Yasuko and had no relationship with her, but later he admitted to having had sexual relations with her 3 times. He said the last time they were together was in late February, a week before her death. Initially, he was arrested for violating immigration laws and was convicted in May. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison with a 3-year suspended sentence. However, he was later rearrested on charges of robbery and murder in Yasuko's case. The robbery charge was based on a claim that one of Yasuko's former clients had paid her $400, but only coins were found in her wallet. Investigators found pubic hair at the crime scene, one of which matched Govinda, while the other belonged to another person. Additionally, a condom containing his semen was found in the bathroom. He was identified as the primary suspect and was charged with murder. In the first trial held at the Tokyo District Court in 2000, the prosecution argued that Govinda killed Yasuko based on circumstantial evidence. They located a Nepalese acquaintance of Govinda who testified that Govinda had repaid a debt to him right after the murder. The prosecution also argued that Govinda knew the victim and had concealed the fact that they had a sexual relationship. The prosecution presented witnesses who claimed to have seen a Southeast Asian man with Yasuko, her diary, which recorded Govinda as her last client, and a condom containing semen that matched his DNA. However, the defense countered that Govinda had worked at a restaurant far from the crime scene until 10 p.m., making it unlikely that he was the Southeast Asian man seen with Yasuko at 11:30 p.m. Additionally, it was pointed out that there was another man's pubic hair found at the crime scene, suggesting that a third party might have entered the apartment and killed Yasuko. It was also emphasized that Govinda voluntarily turned himself in to the police, claimed his innocence regarding the murder charges, and consistently maintained his innocence during the investigation. Furthermore, it was noted that there was an 11-day period between the murder and the discovery of the body, during which Govinda had the opportunity to flee or leave Japan, but he did not. Another odd detail was that Govinda's commuter pass was found in the backyard of a house far from the crime scene a few days before the body was discovered. Ultimately, in April 2000, due to insufficient evidence, the Tokyo High Court acquitted Govinda. He was released and was to be deported due to his expired visa, but the prosecution appealed the ruling, and he was redetained until the appeal process began. Despite his acquittal, Govinda remained imprisoned and was unable to return to Nepal, where his wife and children were waiting for him. The appeal began, and the prosecution again presented the same circumstantial evidence. This time, the Tokyo High Court agreed with the prosecution's argument and overturned the previous verdict. Govinda was convicted of Yasuko's murder and robbery and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Govinda's defense team appealed to the Supreme Court, but the appeal was dismissed. He, who had maintained his innocence throughout, was now facing a lifetime in a Japanese prison. However, in 2005, after spending 7 years in prison, his supporters and legal team requested a retrial at the Tokyo High Court. They demanded that all forensic evidence held by the prosecution be disclosed and re-examined. During this process, it was revealed that the prosecution had withheld crucial information. An examination of the body found saliva and semen that did not match him. The saliva and semen were of blood type O, whereas Govinda's blood type was B. In 2005, the defense requested a re-examination, but it wasn't until 2011 that the Tokyo High Court responded and approved the re-examination of the DNA evidence. The prosecution also claimed that the small samples of saliva and semen found on Yasuko's lips, chest, lower body, underwear, inside her body coat, and other items in the apartment were too small to test. However, the defense insisted on testing them, citing advancements in DNA analysis technology. The results revealed that the DNA found on the other hair samples at the apartment, apart from Govinda's, all matched. The DNA found under Yasuko's fingernails and in her hair also did not match his. This indicated that someone other than he had likely been the last person to have sexual relations with Yasuko, and that this person could be the one who killed her. The third party's DNA did not match any profiles in the police database, and to this day, the identity remains unknown. In the retrial, the prosecution concluded that they could not prove Govinda was the one who killed Yasuko, and after 15 years in prison, he was acquitted in June 2012. Govinda was released and repatriated to Nepal, where he was reunited with his wife and 2 children. However, his father had passed away while he was in prison. After returning to Nepal, he spoke about his time in Japan. In an interview with the BBC, he said, "I was forced to live a horrible and painful prison life for 15 years despite being innocent. If not for the DNA testing, I would have remained imprisoned and likely died there." In another interview, he said, "The police concluded on their own that I was the culprit and forced me to sign a confession. They stepped on my feet, grabbed me, and tore my clothes. The prosecutors burned me with lit cigarettes. In prison, the guards spat on me, calling me a villain who raped, murdered a Japanese woman, and stole money. Those words hurt more than any beating. I still can't forget them. I lost the best years of my life. I will never forget what they did to me." Ultimately, Govinda was fortunate to return to Nepal and received $68,000 in compensation for the time he spent in prison. This case appears to reflect the police and prosecution's determination to convict Govinda. Despite the saliva DNA matching another person, they concluded he was the culprit, leading to his painful 15-year imprisonment.